They see me now as the guy that with his shirt off, who can do 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours, who can run 205 miles in 39 hours, who can do all this crazy shit. But what they don't understand is they don't understand the journey that it took me to get to this point. And what got me to this point was I was just the opposite of what I am today. My dad beat the shit out of me when I was growing up. There was an incident one time when my mom got knocked out on top of the stairs and he dragged her down the stairs by her hair. And at 6 years old, I'll never forget this. In my mind, I was always afraid. My whole life I was afraid, but I had this fucking voice, this conscience that would always be battling me, saying, hey, you gotta get up and do something. I didn't want to do shit. You know, I was just afraid, but that voice would force me to get up. And my dad, you know, I tried to beat him up, whatever, at 6, and I get my ass kicked. So this went on for several years. But my mom got courage to finally leave him when I was about 8 years old. We moved to a small town in Brazil, Indiana, and that's when the real war started for me. So me being one of the few black kids in that, you know, in that area, you know, it kind of haunts you. I had stuff on my notebook, you know, nigga, we're gonna kill you, on my Spanish notebook. It was jacking me up. So all the insecurities I had when I was a kid with my father, I moved into this area here, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And the shit haunted me. And that voice that I talked about, it kept talking louder and louder and louder, but I was doing nothing about it. From the age of 19 to the age of 22, I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300, to 297 was my heaviest. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. What changed was Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I watched the show, and it made me reflect big time on the piece of shit that I am, and I'm exactly what people said I was gonna be. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities, and I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had blamed so many fucking people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there, my learning disability, my skin color, everything. And so I sat there for a while and I was like, no one's gonna fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. And so I had to man up. And I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have. So I started calling recruiters up. I said, I'm gonna go be a fucking Navy SEAL. There's a weight and height limit to get in the military. To get into the class I had to get into, I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I was like, fuck that, I can't do that. I went back to Ecolab where he sprayed for cockroaches. I don't like cockroaches too much. And I sat there and I said, this is my life. And I said, this ain't gonna be it for me. So in that restaurant, I quit my job, left my canister in that restaurant, my spray canister, got back in my Ecolab truck, and I went home. So my first run, when I decided to lose the weight, I was, like I said, 297. I was about 32% body fat. My idea was to run 4 miles for my first run. I didn't know how bad it's gonna fucking hurt me. I used to run before I was fat, and I was like, fuck it, I can do this. I ran a 1/4 mile and walked home. I walked home and sat on my couch and cried. And what it was, and it's kind of funny, I was obsessed with Rocky. And I would fast forward with the little VHS tapes to round 14. Round 14 fucked me up like nobody's business. When Apollo Creed beat the fucking shit out of Rocky, beat the shit out of him, he kept fighting. He was a dumb fighter, couldn't read, that was me. Couldn't read, couldn't write, just punchy, everything about him. And Rocky Apollo beat the shit out of him. He was in that corner and everybody was saying, stay the fuck down. And him getting up, Apollo Creed raised his arms up in the fucking air, turned around, thought he won the fight. He turns around and sees this guy getting up, and it was the face of Apollo Creed that changed my life. Not winning, just by him getting the fuck up. Apollo Creed was champ, he's the best. Rocky had taken his soul, had literally taken his soul. His head goes down, he looks at him like, what the fuck are you? I wanted to be that. I wanted to feel something besides defeat. I wanted to just go the distance. And that going the distance pushed me to a point of where now I go way past the distance. I say what if a lot. It sounds corny and it sounds weak, but it's true. What story would it be if my fucking fat, dumb, lying to be friends with people, insecure ass can overcome this shit? What if I can be a SEAL, man? How would that feel? To go from this fat to one of the best guys on the planet Earth. This journey is gonna take something that is gonna be incomprehensible to most people. It's kept fueling me with the right kind of message that I needed to hear that I was never telling myself. So it became from being defeated to like, man, maybe tomorrow we can go 0.75. But I started realizing I can't run that far. So what I did was I became damn near a professional cyclist with the miles I put on the bike. I rode a bike a lot to lose the first initial kind of weight because my bones were just hurting so bad. My body was just broken. And then the bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles, and then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6. And then like they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I just I failed, I go back to scratch. I use some positive motivation. I have like one day where I'm like fucking defeated. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I had to realize this is part of my process versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that shit. I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I had to invent a guy that didn't exist. I had to invent a guy that can take any pain, any suffering, any kind of judgment. I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering. I built it through downright fucking just crushing myself. If it was raining outside at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, if it was snowing, the first instinct is don't go out there and do shit. My instinct was, we gotta fucking go out there. Anything that was fucking horrible in my life that I would normally say no, that was inhumane to most people, I had to go do it. And I started callousing my mind at this point in my life. And I lost the weight. And I went back to recruiter. I got into that class and I went through 3 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks in 1 year. Only guy to ever be in 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year, to my knowledge. The first one I didn't make it through, the next 2 I did. And I didn't stop anymore from there. And I started realizing through this process that the fucking mind is what you created. And I started opening different doors that I didn't think were even there, that I didn't think even existed. And the more doors I opened up, the more I started realizing that my potential is damn near endless. And it changed my whole mindset. So I went from David Goggins and I created Goggins.